What's up, everybody? Bobby Foster here. We're back with another episode of Foster the Conversation. And today we have the Bascome brothers here, the Bascome Twins. I'm really excited to talk to y'all today. I saw you guys on YouTube. I saw that we have a similar audience. And I just kind of wanted to get into, well, first of all, welcome on to the podcast
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah. And I kind of just wanted to get into knowing y'all a little bit better first off. So, when it comes to music, we're both reaction channels. What kind of music in 2022 are y'all passionate about?
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
You know what's interesting? On my part, I've just recently started exploring. Because the kind of listener that I've always been is I'm very loyal to specific artists. And I don't always explore outside of that box. I get inspired and I stay there. But recently, it's been a lot of pop and alternative. Alternative specifically. It's not really a genre that I ever crossed into, but now I'm digging it. I'm digging it more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and we would say this because we're twins, but I was really gonna say the same thing. Pop is always gonna be my first genre that I just ride for. I don't care if it's what's popping right now. I don't care. I'm gonna ride for pop. But also alternative, I've been getting into that. And if it's not going to be alternative, it's got to be rap. I'm passionate about rap too, yeah.
Okay, so we got pop, alternative, and rap. So, when it comes to the alternative, what are some artists in there? Because I know, alternative means different things to different people, I feel like.
For sure.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah. So, what are some artists that y'all are labeling alternative that you're listening to?
So, I guess some of the artists I could think of would be Halsey is usually labeled as alternative.
I think of Melanie Martinez.
Around there. And John Bellion.
John Bellion, for sure, yeah.
Sometimes labeled as alternative. That's a little, but when I think of alternative, I'm thinking of artists that can take a genre, maybe it's pop, maybe it's hip hop, but add all these different components to it.
Yeah.
And create something new, So I guess in my head, that would be what alternative is.
Yeah, it's being able to, like Jordan said, have that generic genre per se, and then add that special quality to it.
That separates it from the rest.
Yeah, that separates it from what's mainstream.
I agree with y'all when you were talking about exploring. I feel like that's what this channel has made me do. Prior to this, prior to the reacting. I feel like I kind of just stuck to the few artists I would listen to. I would listen to a lot of Kendrick and Big Sean, and man, that was honestly those are my two idols. So I was Kanye.
For sure.
But it's funny because I feel like I get labeled a hip hop head a lot. But honestly, I don't listen to too much underground hip hop music and stuff. I'm more of a mainstream guy. So when y'all are talking about pop and all that kind of stuff, I kind of grew up just listening to what was on the radio, honestly. And so when it comes to pop, I feel like that is a topic that gets brought up so much on my channel of what, because when people talk about pop, I feel like they think of early 2010s, Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, all that kind of stuff. And people always comment on my stuff that pop is dead.
Yes.
What do y'all feel about that?
As a pop, what's the word I want to use?
Connoisseur.
Pop enthusiast. Yeah.
There you go.
I'll be honest. When I look at pop right now, it definitely does not have the same zing as it did from 2010 to 2016, 17. So I can agree with that. Sometimes when I look at certain artists and what they're dropping, whether they're new artists, old artists, it just doesn't have the same feeling like it did. However, I don't think pop will ever be dead. It may not be mainstream, but it can never die. Pop music, I feel like, is just that genre that infiltrates into every other genre. So rappers are influenced by pop. R&B is influenced by pop to some degree. Alternative is influenced by pop. So I don't think pop could ever die, but it's just not mainstream right now.
I was going to piggyback off that. I think that with pop infiltrating every genre, I think that's the case with every genre. Hip hop especially. I feel like pop isn't dead. I do agree with you. I don't think it's dead. I just think it's taken a back seat. because hip hop, trap music, it's been on the rise for probably since 2016. You know, it's the number one genre right now.
Yeah.
So you got to adapt with the times. And I think that that's what artists have done. You know, you mentioned the Lady Gagas, you know, there's the Katy Perrys, the Justins, you know, Bruno Mars has evolved himself and is doing a different kind of sound, more soul, R&B. So I know Gaga just put out Chromatica recently, which was very pop influenced. And, you know, even these guys back here like Harry Styles and all of them, they're still doing pop. I think what helps a pop artist, though, is their fan base. And that's what's keeping them alive. I think if a new artist came out and did pop, it wouldn't be received as well. But for those pop artists from 2012, 2009 that have been doing it, it's kind of expected. If you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I feel like we're kind of seeing that kind of across the board with music right now. This idea of, like, if you were kind of already established pre-streaming, like, you have this level of, like, mystique around you and just kind of like legendary status and all this kind of stuff. And it's just so interesting to see the difference in how those older artists operate nowadays and like new artists operate now. Like, I feel like it's like a whole, like a dichotomy. It's like so different. And, you know, I was actually just talking about, you know, when it comes to COVID, I feel like that changed so much in the music industry. That even with pop, right? Because you just brought up Chromatica. When I reacted to that, I was like, oh man, like if the world was open when this album came out, I feel like it would have hit way different for people. Because that was like all club music. That was all rave music.
The spaces
that was like
for
all
that weren't open.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I feel like pop had to like kind of like the last few years had to like take a step back because you know pop is social. It's like everyone getting together listening to this, and like there was no really like venues for that, right? And so okay, when it does come to rap, I feel like you said it was the number one genre in the world. I mean, that's factual. It is. What do y'all feel about kind of the current state of hip hop, if you will, since we just talked about the current state of pop?
You know, looking at our channel, right? Very pop influenced based on, you know, what we react to. But I myself am a hip hop head. I am. Okay. I'm also a rapper. I do make, you know, hip hop music. It's been a little minute, but that's always been my passion. So I get very passionate about this topic because, you know, talking about the artists that we kind of grew up on, 2010 and all that, you know, the climate was different. What was required to be a rapper was different, or what was required to, you know, step into that genre, it was all different. Nowadays, it's kind of, the focus is more so on the celebrity and the overall image, you know what I mean, rather than the talent. And that's always been a factor. But with hip hop now,
I'm not getting good vibes.
You know, it's not. It's not a disappointment. I will say that it's not a disappointment, and I feel like there are so many different factors when it comes to hip hop, and so many different pockets in the genre right now. You've got the trap artists, you've got those lyrical artists, you've got the storytellers. You know, so there's something for everybody in the genre. I feel like it's a very good mix. But as for what's mainstream in hip hop, I am missing that lyrical, you know, ability. I'm missing that effort. You know what I mean? I feel like it's very melodic nowadays. And I think that's what's helped the genre, you know, achieve what it has. But I do miss it. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, I'll be honest too. I'm a singer, so I make pop music, R&B music, alternative. However, when it comes to rap, being, you know, the artist that I grew up on, my ear is so good for rap. So I know what sounds good immediately. I catch every bar, metaphor, punchline. I catch everything. I'm like, oh, that was a good song. So when I look at it now, kind of like what Jordan said, there are different like subgenres now within rap. However, and we do still have our rappers. When I say rappers, and we do still have our MCs, our lyricists. However, it seems like their mindset is still, I have to write my raps. You know, I have to go hard. They have this certain I don't want to say old school mindset, but to that degree, a bit of an old school mindset. Whereas the new upcoming rap artists, it's kind of like, let me make a hit and then let me make another one. And then let me make a hit. And it's not really focused on the craft and making me second guess that line. If I listen to your song and I understand it straight through, you didn't do your job. Not as a rapper. I should be second guessing everything you say. That stuff should be flying over my head. I should be feeling stupid by the time your song, is done.
Again, even with something like that, that is a specific kind of rapper. That's why I think what we're getting at is the lyrics. The lyrical content has changed more than anything.
But I like the melodic. I really like that rappers nowadays are focused on the melody and because that's important with the song. If the song has to be an earworm nowadays because everybody's attention span is so short. So,
TikTok.
But then also it's like, okay, you actually have the ear for a hit, which is important as an artist. But I do miss the lyrical, the
meatiness.
You know what I mean? It's just not there. It's not there.
Yeah. So, okay, I agree with pretty much everything y'all said. I mean, attention spans are very short nowadays. You do pretty much just have to put out hit after hit after hit because nothing really sticks anymore. So it's kind of more like, it's like, content based basically. It's like how much can you influence the algorithm, all that kind of stuff. And like there's not really a focus on the craft. And I feel like when it comes to hip hop, that's always been kind of like a foundational aspect of like if you're good or not is like how good is your craft. And that doesn't even necessarily mean like kind of like the lyrical miracle type rap. It's like there's craft to storytelling, there's craft to the punchlines and the wordplay and analogies and metaphor. I feel like that's definitely missing a lot in the mainstream, world. But okay, let's switch it to more of a positive thing, if you will. Like, when it comes to, you guys are saying like on your channel, like pop is, what y'all are doing. I got two questions for y'all. What's kind of like, what are the artists that kind of like stick out, that your fans always want you to react to? And then also, what's like some things that you do feel like are a highlight nowadays that are going well nowadays when it comes to pop?
Our artists on our channel, oh my gosh, because some of our fans, our loyal subscribers, they harass. Like they let you know what they want to hear. Like they're not shy about it either. Definitely Taylor Swift. So when we introduced her to the channel, it was like, whoa. I would say, let me think. Ariana for sure. Justin, Nicki. Now more so because he dropped his album, The Weeknd.
Oh, The Weeknd.
Oh, and we had just done After Hours. So
I'm looking at a list over here because I'm like,
I know we
have it on a board because we try to think about who dropped, who didn't.
I would say Doja Cat 2 and BTS because we kind of started with BTS. So they still creep in every now and then.
Shout out to Army.
Shout out to the Army because there's some loyal
so
people.
Y'all have like a lot of different kind of artists that pop on your channel then.
Yeah, we try to make that a priority when going into the channel because we are inviting of every genre that we wanted that to exude on the channel, that it wasn't just like rap and pop per se, but it was like we're open to listening to other artists, and you'll know if we like it if you see them again.
Not only that,
that's how I operate too. That's the same way I
operate.
Our
taste is already expansive, so it's like we wanted the channel to reflect our taste as well, and we wanted to talk about artists that were passionate or that we followed, because I feel like if you're gonna talk about something, have some knowledge on it. You know what I mean, or at least 100%. A background. Just makes it easier and makes it more authentic. So
and then for your question, oh my bad, go ahead.
No, I was basically just gonna bring up that other question. Like, out of kind of all these artists that you're reacting to, like, what are some of the things that you feel like are highlights that are sticking out to you? Like, when it comes to these pop artists.
So you're saying like the ones we react to, or just pop artists in general?
Oh, Olivia,
just pop artists in general. Yeah.
Okay. A really positive thing even though we were saying like pop has kind of taken a back seat, a certain kind of pop has now been brought to the forefront that I'm noticing. And it's the pop artists like Olivia Rodrigo. Yep. It's almost like this sad pop. This sad pop has just taken over the airways.
But not just sad pop. It's like, I don't know if
it's
you
a certain kind of...
It's a little bit of a punk pop too, though.
Yes,
I don't know if anybody
punk.
else is hearing like a rock punk pop too.
Because I think of
back.
I think of Stay by the Kid Laroi. Like, that's got a certain... That's not your traditional pop song. So... I mean,
it definitely, that vibe permeated everything, like even hip hop with like the Juices and the
Post Malone,
XXX Tentaciones and Rod Wave and it like permeated everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a really positive thing that I'm seeing with pop right now. It's not so much of a dance club, but although those kind of songs may not be like number one on the charts. But they are still very popular in the streets, so to say. You know what I mean? Like, online? You go to a club and online and wherever, they're popular. So, but with pop right now, it's really nice to see that people are experimenting with it. And they're experimenting with the topics and the storytelling. And it's honestly bringing new artists to our faces. We're being introduced to people that we've never heard of before. And so I think of like ABCDEFU.
A new one by Gail.
You know what I mean? Like, that's such a different kind of pop song, but it introduced us to her, and now we're able to look at her discography and be like, oh, wow, you're a great artist.
Okay. So they are a great artist, because I know like a lot of people kind of shit on that song, as far as being kind of like gimmicky, but like, so y'all looked at it.
It may be. It may be. But
I think that, the thing about gimmicky, right? Because I believe it or not, I was thinking about this earlier. I feel like...
Let's get into it.
Let's get into some things.
I feel like there's something positive about a gimmick. There obviously is, to some extent. It helps things stick. It can be familiar. I do feel like it's done on purpose a lot of times. That song reminds me of Hot Girl Bummer, I think, by Black
the song
Bear.
reminds me of Hot Girl Bummer.
So it's also a familiar sound. But I feel like gimmicks always get shit on, but I think that they're important. Like, it's important for an artist to have them. Yeah. I feel like when it's all you have to offer,
then
that's
you
a different
are a
story.
gimmick to that degree.
You know what I mean? But
I feel like that's the I think people see gimmicks as kind of like inauthentic, but it's hard to mix capitalism with music. And I feel like that's where it kind of all stems from, because you got to make money, right? And so like you kind of do these gimmicks because you got to find a way to like stay in the mainstream, get in the mainstream, whatever, make some sales, and I feel like that level of like, I feel like people don't like when artists come off as calculated, but you kind of have to be calculated. You know what do y'all think about that?
No, you're absolutely, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut across you. But no, I feel like the people who don't appreciate, and I use that word appreciate, an artist being calculated doesn't understand the business.
See, that's what it's all the business side.
It really is all the business.
Necessary.
You think the artist wants to come here and be a gimmick? No. But it's a business at the end of the day. And so the only unfortunate thing with having a little bit of a gimmick within your music is that certain people or the audience can miss your diamond in the roughs. But if you understand the business or you understand the tactic, then you don't miss those great songs because you actually take the time to appreciate and learn the artist. But being calculated, it's a business. All of our favorite artists are calculated. They have to be.
Gotta be.
But see, that's for the business side. I think that, because see, there's a positive and negative to everything. I think that's the positive about gimmicks. They help the artist. They help the business. A gimmick helps you sell yourself. A, B, C, D, E, F, U. You got to think about how that is, cultivated. Everyone knows that original song, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know what I mean? So it's going to stick in people's head. That is just smart. At the end of the day, that is just smart. But I think the problem with gimmicks, kind of like what I was saying earlier, this topic separates the artists from the entertainers. When all you've got to offer is a gimmick, and everything behind you is a gimmick, and everything behind you is calculated, and there's nothing that comes across as raw or rough, or authentic. That's when people have a problem connecting to you. And an artist, to be an artist with a fan base, there has to be some sort of connection there. And I've always said that when the whole world is your fan, it's easier to fall. Because the moment you disappoint the world or the moment you aren't entertaining the world,
then you're
done.
off.
You know what I mean?
You
So that's why
Wow.
I appreciate those artists that have built to those core fan bases. You know? Like, no matter what they do, if they put out a bad album, you know, they still have that core fan base. It's like, all right, we'll get them next time. You know what I mean? But when you have these artists that kind of sprout out of nowhere and look calculated and have all of this radio push, label push, you know what I mean? When they've got so much behind them, it's hard to connect because it's almost like you're watching. How do I put that? I was gonna say, it's almost like you're watching a show, not a real person. Yeah.
I have to absolutely agree, and that's what I was thinking as I was talking about being calculated. And I'll bring it back to the artists that we grew up with. The reason why they have and hold those legendary titles is because they didn't just come in to please the world. They came in to leave a mark. They came in with a purpose. So when an artist comes in with a purpose, when an artist actually genuinely loves their craft, loves music, because you can tell when an artist is not in love with music, and it will show in their bodies of work. If your foundation is not strong, at some point in time, you're going to fall quick. And I will say with artists that are coming out, you'll see some artists that, you know, they'll be everywhere, like Jordan said, and then all of a sudden it'll be nothing. And then they'll try to do it again, and that's where the problem with being calculated is, because if you think, I did it once, I can do it again, and that's not always the case, then you fall off. But then you have other artists who are calculated in the sense of building real relationships with their listeners and having something to, and being someone to relate to. And that's what holds longer.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. And I think, you know, there's a couple poster childs, I would say, for like calculation. Two people I could think of. One of them is very divisive, so I actually want to go there first. I feel like a lot of people think Lil Nas X is just a gimmick. Thing is, I love Montero. I don't know how y'all feel about it. I love
album?
it.
The album?
Yeah.
Great
Loved
album.
it. Loved it.
Yeah, and you know, I feel like when it comes to Lil Nas X, I feel like he's kind of like a perfect balance of what we're talking about, because like he uses the gimmicks for marketing and marketing only.
Exactly.
But then when you get into the album, it's full of just like introspection and just like all this personal stuff. But he also still makes them a hit somehow. Like it was just an amazing combination, that album. But then I was gonna say, on the flip side, you got someone like, I feel like this is the poster song of calculation is Tootsie Slide by Drake. I feel like everyone just knew that was a TikTok scheme, right?
He's an artist I was going to bring up.
Yeah, and okay, actually, I'm curious about that. I am curious about, because I feel like Drake is a great, person to look into when it comes to all of this, because I feel like Drake's kind of divisive too, because he's been around for so long.
Yes.
He's a legend, but he does do a lot of gimmicky stuff. Like he really does. So I don't know. Like, let's explore that a little bit.
I feel like
before you jump into Drake, I'm sorry, because I am really glad that you brought up Montero. Speak on it really quickly.
We can stay there if you want.
In the sense of being a gimmick, I will say when Nas first came out, I could see how people thought of him as a gimmick. You come out of nowhere talking about something, you got the horses in the back, and I don't know really what you're talking about. I don't know what, and it's almost like, where can I relate to you? And then you listen to his EP, and it's like, okay. And then you get to the album, and you're entertained because he's so humorous, and he is genuinely entertaining, and that's where I think his past of
talk about it.
Being what's the word I'm looking for?
Trolling.
It's
on
being
like Stan Twitter.
A part of the Stan Twitter. Thank you. Being a part of Stan Twitter has definitely helped him because he understands the humor. But then when
he knows the language.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so that's where you know how to hook and bait.
Yeah.
But then keep him there. He knows how to keep him there. So when you listen to Montero, my favorite song, I don't know about your favorite song. My favorite song is Void. And I feel like a lot of people just skip over it. And it's like, no, like he can give you a hit, but then he can really he can be raw at the same time. So I'm just glad you brought up Montero because I thought that was a perfect example.
And I'll piggyback. Yeah. It's like with Montero, speaking on, Nas in general, he is a great example of an artist that sat back and watched. Because when you think about, the time he was on Stan Twitter, the artists that he was watching, which is those 2010 through like 2016 artists, he was watching how they move. But him being involved in the internet, he saw that shift, you know what I mean, that was coming to the industry where it was becoming more microwavable. Things were microwavable and TikTok and, Instagram coming around and all these things. So he's a product of, I feel like, the split in the decade. You know what I mean? Like, he's a product of that. I feel like there was a split in the decade, which kind of brings me to talking about Drake. I feel like Drake is smart as hell. Like, he is smart.
Yeah, he's smart.
And, I do agree with people when they say, oh, Drake's gimmicky sometimes. And even if it isn't about the gimmicks, the music, sometimes it's like really, really radio friendly to where you're kind of missing that Take Care, Nothing Was the Same Drake. But the beauty about Drake and his discography is that he's done both. You got Thank Me Later, Take Care, So Far Gone. I could say even up to, if you're reading This Is Too Late, I think Views is when we started to kind of see that shift where it was, geared more toward the radio. But that's another artist that sat back and watched and said, wait, the generation's changing. My audience is changing. Things are not sticking as long as they used to. So with an example like 2C Slide, yes, you could hear that and no, that's geared toward TikTok. That's geared toward dancing. You know what I mean? You can hear that. Sometimes it's just obvious. But I think about Scorpion and how he's still, opened up. I think that I do think he's still finding that balance, with the recent album, CLB and all that. I think that he's still finding that balance of being introspective, being raw, and rapping, but also keeping a radio hit and keeping the audience entertained. It's that word entertainment again.
Exactly.
So...
Okay, I was going to say that same thing. When I look at Drake, and I'm a huge fan of Drake, that's a very talented man, but a very smart man, like Jordan said.
Blessing and a curse, though, I think.
And that could be a blessing and a curse. When you look at Drake's discography, again, you have that Thank Me Later, you have Take Care, you have Nothing Was the Same. And I look at that and I'm like, wow, look at that beautiful trilogy.
Yeah.
And then I look at View, Scorpion, and CLB, and I'm like, well, that's a trilogy too. And that's not to say that they're bad albums, because I think, he did move with the time, which is something artists, it's inevitable. You have to move with the times. Otherwise, you're going to fall a lot harder than expected.
Behind.
Like, you're going to fall, you're not going to be able to come back up. You have to be able to move with the times, but still stay true to yourself. And I feel like Drake has done that. However, again, he really does have to master how to be radio friendly, how to give us that hit, but then don't lose your passion for your lyrics.
Yeah.
And I feel like, okay, Drake, when I listen, it's like, okay, that was a good song. He had a couple bars there, like that hit, but when you go listen to something of his past, you're like, something's missing. That spark is missing. And I don't want him to lose that.
Yeah, I feel like Pablo, I don't know if you watch them on TikTok, Pablo the Don. But anyway, they talk about music and everything. And they brought up this great point. And I feel like they just put words to how a lot of people feel about Drake, which is no one's asking Drake to talk about politics or, anything like that. But people want him to say something about, he's always talking about relationships and dating and stuff. But, are you really saying anything about it? Like, you're kind of just rapping about the topic like you have been for 10 years, 11 years. But, he's not really bringing anything to the forefront of how he truly feels about things. Kind of like he hasn't made a song like I'll Take Care, like Look What You've Done. And then on Nothing Was the Same. What's that song with Sampha? It's actually my favorite Drake song. How am I forgetting what it's called?
Which one was that? Is it on the deluxe edition?
It's the piano song at the end. He performed it live.
Oh my gosh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm so mad at myself.
The track list.
I'm going to the track. Piano.
Tuscan leather for this thing.
This is literally my favorite Drake song of all time, and I cannot think of. Isn't it Sampha? I'm pretty sure it's Sampha.
Hold on. No. Who's on Hold On, We're Going Home? Who's that?
Too Much.
Oh, don't think about it too much. Yeah, that one. I forgot.
That's why, like, he hasn't made a song like that since then. Like, and that's like one of my favorite. That is my favorite Drake song. But you know, I feel like when we're talking about all this, I'm curious because this is a topic. This is a topic we have to actually get to. It's a topic everyone's talking about right now. And since we're talking about this kind of like split in the decade, right?
Okay.
What's going on with this superstar stuff? Like, do you all know like the conversation everyone's having about superstars right now?
I feel like I've seen something here and there. Enlighten me though.
Okay, so it blew up because Joe Budden was talking about like what is a superstar, a music superstar, and
I saw that.
He claimed that Meg Thee Stallion was not a superstar, and then it started this whole debate. It's been on Twitter and like on my Discord and all this kind of stuff, and I'm curious, like, how do y'all define a superstar? Who are some, if any, new superstars in the music industry? But yeah, I want to hear y'all opinion on that because it's a hot topic right now.
Oh my goodness, a superstar.
Wait, I want to start with one. I want to start with one.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I feel like Billie Eilish is 100% a superstar, in my opinion.
Yes.
She got 2 albums. I'm not a huge fan of her last album, but it is very still critically acclaimed. Fans love it. So she didn't really go through the sophomore slump. She's selling out arenas like crazy. Her album streamed like crazy. So I would say that Billie Eilish is a superstar.
No, and I agree with you 110%. I will say this. I think what you classify as a superstar is very subjective. I will say that. However, there are some obvious ones that are, there is no argument there. So go argue with Jesus, go argue with somebody because it's not an argument.
Who else besides Billie then would you say is like a new superstar?
A new superstar?
Like the last like 3-4 years or something.
Honestly, I think, and I could see it as controversial, but I think she's definitely working her way up. I have to give it to Doja Cat. I do.
I would also say that.
Because that she is the only other female rapper, in my opinion, aside from Azealia Banks, who, if she would just shut that mouth, would be on top, who is actually genuinely versatile.
Yeah.
So when you show me versatility, when you show me true passion in what you do, you hold that superstar title. I think
Lil Nas X is on his way.
I think he's on his way too.
I think I need another album.
Yes.
I don't want to cut you off if you have any other artists, but I was gonna make a point. Yeah.
Well, can I say one thing before we get to Lil Nas? I just want to say something about Doja real fast. So when it comes to Doja, if she's not a superstar, she's gonna be. Yes. And the thing with Doja is, like, her last 2 albums have had ridiculous longevity, especially like for nowadays. Like Hot Pink, like she had like a new music video because stuff would keep blowing up like months after the fact, right?
Like Streets? Yeah. Like who was thinking about Streets?
Nobody.
Like Planet. Hey, Streets is my favorite on the album. So
and you know what? I don't know if you watched our reaction, but this one right here did not like Streets.
And when I tell you like it,
when I tell you I lit him up when that video ended, I lit him up.
It wasn't that I didn't like it.
No, his face during the whole song was just stale. And I was like, what if I push this man out this chair right now? What if I just murk him? Because this song is good. No, don't get up here and lie.
It wasn't like that.
Don't lie to BobbyFoster. Don't lie.
So, and then like Planet Her is still like one of the most streamed albums still to this day, and it dropped like last year. And then she like nails every national live performance that she does. So like, if she's not a superstar, she will be. I know people might hold her going on tour with The Weeknd against her. I don't know if y'all saw that, but they just announced it like a couple hours ago.
I think it was a great move.
Why do you think they would hold it against her?
So one of the things that seems to be the talking point here about superstardom is sales, whether album or ticket sales. Seems to mean a lot to people when it comes to superstardom, which I can understand. But I feel like when people talk about pure sales, I feel like something I'm noticing is people think that artists are selling less because they're just not doing as good as artists did before. But they're like not taking into consideration that people just stream everything now. And like no one really buys albums. Yeah. That's not like the artist's fault. That's just consumer habits changing as time goes on. So like, I feel like pure sales is a pretty bad gauge of like customer demand. I mean, like consumer demand, like for an artist. Yeah. I think like, and, you know, people always talk about like streaming farms and you can fake streams and all that. And that's valid. So I don't know how useful streaming counts are either. But like, yeah, I would say, kind of going back to what we were saying, I think Doja Cat is either currently a superstar or will be a superstar in like a year. Yeah. I know like because of COVID, like she couldn't tour and everything. So like we kind of have to see how that plays out. And like that's actually something that after we talk about Lil Nas X, I do want to remember this because I want to talk about, this is an interesting thing I had brought up, is that because of COVID, we had quarantine superstars, like the hottest of the hot during quarantine. And it's like, as time progresses and we're kind of getting out of COVID, the world is opening up. It's like, will these quarantine superstars be real life superstars?
And
now,
I have one immediately.
Interesting question.
I have one immediately. And
okay, who?
Oh my goodness! Did you guys want to talk about Lil Nas X first? With the
well, I wasn't even gonna. I was gonna make a point that relates to Lil Nas X. I was gonna.
Okay.
Because your original question about, I guess, what makes a superstar.
Yeah.
I feel like what makes a superstar is an artist that can evolve, and
that's a good
an artist that can keep you engaged. Because for me, it's not about how long you've been here. Because you can be here for 5 years and be doing the same thing for 5 years. At some point, the audience is going to get bored. So I think the most important thing is evolution.
Yeah, I agree.
And then
I like that.
As to us having superstars, now I'm going to be honest and say I don't think we have any yet. But I think we have artists with superstar potential, like you're saying. I think that I need to see more because now you're bringing up another great point with the quarantine superstars. It's like, we have these
Meg
artists.
was a quarantine superstar.
Oh my gosh,
she was everywhere.
You took the artist out of my mouth.
Like,
she was the first person I thought of.
They've been able to keep us entertained over the internet, but bringing back the conversation about gimmicks, it's very easy to survive off gimmicks when it comes to the internet. Whether that's posting a certain kind of picture, whether that's, getting into an online fight or posting, a music video or whatever. It's very easy to keep people engaged on the internet.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your live shows, your appearances, that's where we start to see a different kind of something. So,
and I also think shortly, and then I definitely, your question about quarantine superstars, but when you mentioned, I thought of it. When you were talking about pure sales and pure ticket sales, do I think that should be accounted for superstar, that title of a superstar right now? No, because like you said, we have some artists that are streaming giants. Like I just came across something the other day. Dua Lipa's debut album is the most streamed female artist album on Spotify of all time. I did not know that.
Is her debut Future Nostalgia or was there one before that?
No, it was Dua Lipa. Her
really?
Self-titled. Yeah. And I was like, what the heck is on this album?
Yeah.
Because Future Nostalgia was
another great
top tier.
Work. Yeah, I love
that. I love that album.
I was like, what the heck is this? Yeah. So I will say that I agree with you 110% on that it should not be taken into account when the conversation of what is a superstar is being had. However, what I will say, when we speak on legends, then
that's different.
Pure sales
that's two different
comes into play
as well.
because a little the queen of rap just sold out her her wireless with 40,000 people. So
I think it was like in 4 hours.
In 4 hours. So do we have a problem? Didn't debut at number one, but she's about to go entertain 40,000 people. Absolutely. That's a legend.
Yep. And I think that's when that conversation comes in about. But even because I feel like I disagree a little bit with the idea that. I think pure sales do need to be taken into account.
But think about Beyonce.
When you're thinking but Beyonce's albums.
But Beyonce's not a streaming giant, but her albums and pure sales.
But that's what I'm saying. But she's legendary status in my opinion.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what builds.
See, but also I think just real quick, I think when it comes to pure sales, it is a different game for artists that were already around prior to streaming.
Agreed.
True.
Because they still all get some
that
decent amount of of pure sales.
That is true.
And then so I feel like that's also kind of like a factor here.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
You already have
true.
that like core established fan base that was already purchasing your music before, that's still purchasing.
They're going to continue.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
True.
That's what they know, and that's another thing that comes into, once again, it's the consumer. It's the climate right now. The industry is so much different, and you know, I think labels are even more concerned about streaming than they are pure sales, and I have to wonder, like, aren't streams worth more when it comes to charting?
I feel like,
I don't know what the percentages are.
I don't think streams are. I think radio is.
Radio, okay. So I knew it was, So it has a lot to do with things like that.
Which sucks because even like radio play, I feel like, dang, like don't lose the authenticity of radio play.
Cause see, radio,
like when songs were on the radio, like you said, you grew up listening to what's on the radio. When those songs were on the radio, they deserve to be on the radio.
Yeah.
You know,
now you can pay and have it spun for hours on hours, and it's like,
dang, that's not genuine.
Because I wonder sometimes, like, I gotta be honest, I am a huge fan of Justin, right? Mm-hmm. But who is listening to Ghost?
Who the hell is
and Ghost is one of my favorite songs off that album.
Is my favorite.
Who in the hell is listening to Ghost? And why is it number 9 right now? And I could be wrong, but I don't know anybody that knows Ghost. So I'm just kind of like, but that's what I mean by the giants that are behind some, you know, artists, you know, and that's pop music too. So you're looking at the climate, you're like, that's pop music. So how is pop music doing this well in this climate? And I think that's where people get frustrated with charting, which I kind of predict will disappear pretty soon. I do wonder how much longer charting will be around. I think it's kind of... I mean,
they have a lot of things they would have to do to make it any type of... Like, it just does not measure consumer demand well at all. Like, not even a little bit. And like, you know... Yeah, points. And then, you know, I was just thinking, like, as y'all were talking, I was just thinking about, like, different kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess, like, measurements, or, like, what would it take to be a superstar? I actually feel like I have an interesting one. Now, I don't know if this would fall under, like, the superstar, like, category or the legend category. But I feel like if you can't stay off social media, then you're not either a superstar or a legend. One of the two. I don't know which one that would fall under. But there's like a lot of, like, Kendrick can stay off the internet. Nicki can stay off the internet. J. Cole can stay off the internet. Beyonce can stay off the internet. Jay-Z can stay off the internet. Wayne can stay... Like, all these people can stay off the internet. Adele can stay off the internet and come back.
Adele does.
And at this point, Billie Eilish could stay off the internet and still come back and sell out an arena. And we'll see, like, Lil Nas X is off the internet right now. So that'll be interesting to see what he comes back, what that's all about. But, like, I think that might be a quality, because that means that people are, like, not only here because you're in our face all the time. Like, it's like the fans are actually there for you no matter how long you take off, right? I think that should be... I think that should be in there somehow.
That's absolutely a factor. Like you said, when you can be off of the number one, what's the word I'm looking for? How do I lose my words? Promotion. The number one way of promotion is the internet, social media. Yeah. So when you can be off of that and your name is still in our mouths, your name still comes up in conversations. If we're talking about an artist during another artist's achievements, and I'll use that as an example, you hold a pretty high title of either superstar or a legend. So yes, when you can be off of social media, like Adele, who
came back and did 800K.
$800K.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing.
I was actually surprised at that, though. I was surprised at that.
Too. And like, in a bad way.
In a bad way.
Oh, really? About the album? Oh, but see, the thing is...
In a bad way.
Did you like the album?
I love the album.
Okay.
I actually, because, like, let's be real here. That was a very black album, if we're being honest. Like, like, it had a lot of black inspiration on it.
It did. And we knew Adele was black.
Honestly, I feel like, so I have a 5-year-old. And so I did not have a kid when her last album came out, but this album was specifically about kind of like leaving it for her son.
Yeah.
And like a song like My Little Love, like I was like,
Oh
damn.
my God.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
That
I love
song
that song.
hit me hard. Yeah. And so there was a lot of songs I just related with because like it's, you know, she's a parent, I'm a parent, and it was like for her kid. So there was like a lot of things and themes I was relating to a lot. So I love the album. I was just surprised that like, and I don't hold this against Adele. I don't think it has anything to do with the album at all. Just that consumer habits that we're talking about, like her going from like, what was it, like 3.2 million or something like that first week to the 800,000. I was like, man, people have really changed how they're listening to music.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy to me. Like, cause it was like what, 5 years ago? Like that's not that long ago.
Not really.
You know what I mean?
No,
So
not that
it's
long
like,
ago.
man, like that's just wild to me that streaming took over that much.
That much.
And was it
Like that's crazy.
It was 800K with the streams and then 600K pure?
It was 600K pure.
Yeah, I think it was
So-
600K pure. Like people weren't really streaming that album that much.
No,
It wasn't
I'll
getting
be
that many
honest.
streams.
It wasn't an album to stream. You're right. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna get in my car. I'm gonna
Yeah.
drive miles. I'm gonna go pick it up on CD. I'm pick it up on vinyl.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lay in a dark room and cry.
But see, once again, that's an artist from a
Facts.
different era.
But it is
another
an
artist from a different era. And I was
era.
even listening to the ones you were naming that can be off the internet from a different era.
Because now
Yeah.
I feel like artists now aren't able to do that.
No.
Because of our climate. And again, it's we really can't point the finger at the artists. Some we can, some we can't.
Some we can.
Because
Yeah.
it is just the climate. It's like your career cannot handle you being off of social media, unfortunately. And that has nothing to do with your longevity. It's just the times that you're in. You constantly have to be in our face. Once, again, like I said, once you can be within the topic of conversation and you have not been on social media, you have not been live per se, then it's like, oh, okay. Now you're stepping into another territory.
I think there's a pressure that comes with it too for artists. Like I feel like the pressure used to be physical, and I think the pressure now is a little more mental for artists because it's kind of like what we were saying earlier about being calculated. Artists are fully aware of how calculated they have to be. Like we think about, you know, even just being creators. We got to be calculated about the time we post things, when we post things.
sure.
There's peaks, you know what I mean? And artists are paying attention to that as well. And it's always been a thing, you know, that's the business side of things. You know, okay, drop this song in the summertime, drop this song in the fall. You know, we're always paying attention to the climate, but I feel like it's not as concrete nowadays. I feel like the climate is just the same all around. Like there isn't a good time to do this or a good time to do that. You're doing the same thing all year round. So TikTok songs work all year round. Like there isn't really a time to drop a hit, if that makes sense. Like, you know, it used to be like, okay, this one's for the summertime.
Yeah, not now.
Now it's kind of like, it's all about your image, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's all about your image.
You know, I feel like
And
that could definitely be very COVID related.
I think so, too.
Very COVID related.
Very
think so,
COVID
too.
related.
Yeah, because like it really did switch over to, and I've been talking about this too, like, yeah, your brand is kind of like more important than your music at this point, to be honest. Because like, because of COVID, can't tour, where are you going to get all your money? Sponsorships.
Exactly.
So like, you better make
Exactly.
sure that your timeline's looking good because that's,
that's
where all your
true.
money's
That's where
coming
everybody's
from.
focused.
That's
They want to.
true.
They
Yeah.
want to. You got to be interesting to look at, interesting to engage with. You know, artists. You got to go live. You got to be
do.
always doing something. You know what I mean? You can't just. And I think that has that partially has affected the quality of music we're seeing because
For sure.
artists can't just go away and create and then come back with something.
Because it's too
great.
much pressure.
They
It's too
have
much
to
pressure.
consistently be creating, and they
Yeah.
have to consistently be putting things out, whether that's a feature, a mixtape, or an album, or even just a music video.
Yeah.
Constantly got to be feeding your audience
And
as
then it
to
can
where
start to look it can-
sloppy and lazy
and rushed.
you know, the
and-
quality diminishes.
And then us as fans were like, well, what the hell is this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
Yeah.
without realizing that us and then, you know, the general public add so much pressure. So it's like, just spit it
True.
out. And then when you look
Exactly.
at an album that's not cohesive, and the first album, I'm going to be honest, that comes to mind is Nicki's Queen.
I was just thinking of that.
I feel like Nicki had a different vision for Queen, and because, you know, of some other things and pressure, we got, I mean, I love Queen, but I don't think it is what it was going to be.
And artists can always push further with a project, you know? And so when you when artists have to interrupt their process to feed the audience, that's when we get some things that are a bit like, whoa. Like I think of Certified Lover Boy. I feel like Drake had all the time in the world. You know, it had been a while.
I was thinking of Scorpion because like he literally did. He literally did make like half that album because of the Pusha T diss. Like
you see, so
sometimes too much time is not.
But see, even with all that time, you wonder what's happening and why are we getting the product that we're getting? Because it's not that to me. I'm still sitting with CLB. I'm still sitting with it.
Me too.
But listening to it, it's not what I expected it to be. It feels very radio friendly and very like the songs. I think a lot of them are short or like just quick. You can tell that they're quick and they're just easy listens. And that's not what I was expecting or what I was looking for. So I wonder what happens in those cases where artists are like, well, I just got to put out a bunch of radio hits. I think it's the fear of not being relevant. It comes with, constantly moving with the times. That's why I say there's more pressure now and it's more mental and there's more pressure on the creative to produce fast, not produce, no diss to Drake, but not produce well.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's definitely harder to, because of like the oversaturation in the market. Like it is harder to, it's easy to get in the spotlight now, but it's harder to stay in the spotlight because of just like how many, like how much music is coming out, how many artists are coming out. Exactly. And I feel like, even like when you were talking about Queen, like to me, I just wanted to make this remark, I guess. I don't know if this goes with what we were talking about, but I always felt like Queen was a response album. Like she was responding to everything that was going on. Yes. And it wasn't like a statement album. Yeah. And when I was talking about it, I was saying like, I can't wait till she gets in a place where she doesn't feel like she has to like prove anything to anybody anymore. Because she's kind of been in that place a lot. And like a lot of it has to do with her being a female rapper and kind of just all of the obstacles and everything that come with that and people dismissing her talent and everything. Yeah. And then so I was really happy when she just did all these interviews and like she literally said that. She was like, I don't care what people say anymore. Like I'm just doing this the way I want to do it. And I was like, okay, like we're about to get the best album that she's done so far. So so I was really excited about that.
And I think Nicki is an artist that I rave about all the time. She's always been one of my favorites. Followed her since the time she came out, been a loyal fan. All the way from, I guess you could say, I don't care. Like, I genuinely respect her talent. And the other thing that I respect about her and artists like her, we have to also acknowledge that these are artists that are now crossing decades. We've just entered a new decade. You know what I mean? And sometimes it can be a struggle to stay relevant when you have new artists coming out every day. You have new songs and new sounds sprouting every day. You have a new way of doing things sprouting every day. So I feel like with those artists from that era, there's a lack of respect, I think, also. And I don't like the erasure I'm seeing of certain artists and certain, like, I think of Katy Perry.
I was about to say Katy
Perry was huge and still is huge, but her music isn't as supported by the general public. And she's still got her fan base. She's doing a residency that's, going well. Yeah. But it's one of the most creative things I've seen in a long time, and it's not getting any attention.
And
that's wild. Oh, I was just gonna say with the erasure of the 2010s artists, like I didn't know that until I started my reaction channel and started seeing people just like constantly putting down like you're saying, like Katy Perry, like people always talk bad about Lady Gaga and like Nicki and like a whole bunch of people.
Weird.
I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. I thought all these people were just kind of like certified, like people know they're great kind of things. Like
there is no argument.
They're constantly trying to replace, and I think that's the thing. Like I've seen even the Doja Cat Nicki comparisons. I was checking out your channel. You guys actually did a video.
So
it's like
I did.
I see that, and I think comparisons are, inevitable. There's always going to be comparisons, or there's always going to be, people drawing conclusions. Always, you're going to try to find something familiar in what's new, But it's a lot of times it serves as a disservice because one, you don't allow newer artists to simply just be newer artists.
Yeah.
And you don't allow the greats to just simply be the greats. But I think that the 2010 decade, it was such a great decade that we have these newer artists getting ushered in and we're trying to recreate that. And with them still around, it's like this weird cross over. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe we always see it, you know, with the 90s and the 2000s. Maybe we always see it, but it's like this weird cross where you've got older artists that are still here, you got newer artists coming in, and we're clashing sometimes. And even, sorry to cut you off, I think about this a lot because it's like even the expectancy from newer artists. Like if you're not like the 2010 artists, we're like, oh,
because they set such a standard, and I think that's another thing that could be missing. And I feel like I don't have any negative feelings with the music industry surface wise, because you know these artists are trying their best, and we have to give it to each and every artist, whether you like them or whether you don't. Something about them has allowed them to be where they are to a degree.
There's something about them.
But yeah, I feel like the 2010s, you know, artists, I feel like the reason why we don't understand the blasphemy is because we actually respect what they did. We understand it, you know, because we came up on it. So it's our standard. So I feel like now when you have these new artists, then it is like, okay, well, you don't sing like her, and when you get on stage, all you do is sit, but Beyonce dances in heels. Get it together. It's like, well, wait, they're not the same person, though, and they are coming up with two completely different generations. And so what was, I don't want to say was required, but what was required back then is not required now.
I think back then it was a little more about talent.
Back then, it's about how you can entertain
required
a lot if you wanted to leave your mark.
I debate against this all the time. I debate against that point all the time. I don't feel like the music industry has ever been about talent, ever.
No.
I feel like the music industry has been about what sells, and it's always going to be about what sells, as long as labels are the ones that are kind of in control of everything, because they need to make money back on their investment or whatever.
Exactly.
But I do think, see, I'm 28, right? And I can't tell if I'm just kind of like out of the loop on new. I don't think I am, because like I like Lil Nas X, I like Doja and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I can't tell if there was just a golden age of music before, and we're kind of like transitioning out of it, and then hopefully have a new golden age soon.
Oh, we're
transitioning out of it.
Because like, you know, I feel like for a while there, like, you know, there was just always comparisons to Tupac and Biggie and all that, like in the 2000s. Like, there was always these comparisons of, like, 90s rappers. Like, oh, my God, there's no more Nas's, no more Pacs, you know? And then I feel like we're kind of there again, saying that about, you know, like, the Drakes, the Nickys, the Kendricks, the Coles, all of them. And, like, the thing is, like, I think what's missing is that there's not an artist that has really utilized the... How do I want to say that? You know how you had like your blog artists and then like your SoundCloud artists and all that kind of stuff? I feel like we're kind of in this new wave, and it's like a limbo. Once again, I really feel like it's because of COVID. But like, I feel like we need a new era of, like, how do I explain this? Okay, y'all tell me if there's an example of this. Is there an example of a rapper that has come out that has literally changed the landscape of music? So, like, for an example, like when Kanye came out with College Dropout, that changed a lot of things. When Kendrick came out with Good Kid, Mad City, that changed a lot of things. When Nicki came out with Pink Friday, that changed a lot of things. Like, has there been a rapper that has dropped a project that has, like, changed the landscape of music? Like the last 2, 3, 4 years?
Not gonna lie. If you're not, honestly, if you can't mention Kanye, Nicki, Drake, I'll go as far as to say Wayne or like Jay, then no.
Like no one on that level of like
nobody beyond them has done that.
Okay.
It's not to say that they haven't put out good albums, but when you say change the game, change the course for the genre as a whole,
that's what I'm saying.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I feel like certain artists have changed the way that we release. Changed, I don't know. Maybe made it exciting again, the way that we release albums. Like I think about a lot of artists used to do like eras or rollouts and things like that. I think that that's slowly coming back. I think about Doja's Planet Her. I think about Montero, so that's slowly coming back. But the overall sound of music and the way we approach it, besides like trap music in 2016, no, I don't think so. And I think that plays into the idea that I don't feel we have any established superstars yet, because something like that has not occurred. It's just been the same sound, kind of like a regurgitation, and artists are putting their own spin on it, but it's nothing genuinely new, And even with the artists that you guys have named, they're still kind of doing the same thing they've been doing and trying to evolve it little by little, but there's still nothing, like you said, like with Kanye or, Kendrick, where it's been something that comes out and completely shifts the way we do things, or it makes us look at something different.
I feel like, I think there's definitely been influential artists, but I'm not sure if there's been influential projects. Like,
no,
I feel like Juice WRLD was very influential. I feel like he kind of like brought a new sound. And it's kind of like that whole wave of people like Juice, XXXTentacion, like that whole kind of like sound, Lil Uzi Vert, stuff like that. I feel like that was new and shifted things. And then you kind of like have drill coming out. And I don't know if that's like, that hasn't like permeated into everything though. That's still very like niche. But like, I don't think we've had a project change a lot. And I think that has to do with like, we're saying nothing's really sticking, streaming. There hasn't been a lot of cohesive albums.
Yeah.
I feel like, and this isn't hip hop, but I feel like the only two albums I could think of, but it's not really changing anything. I feel like After Hours kind of did.
You know what?
But I don't know 100%.
I can agree.
I'm not sure.
Especially because we just listened to the album. I can agree to a certain extent. I think After Hours was one of, I don't know if I can say like it changed the course of anything or like how we go about. But what I will say is for such a mainstream album, it really reminded listeners what a cohesive album sounds like.
That's what I'm saying. Even from the era stuff y'all are talking about too.
Yeah,
like
and an album,
whole character and everything.
Exactly, an album that the artist actually took time to create and pulled from different experiences, memories, situations, moments. The Weeknd pulled from those things, pulled from his emotions, pulled from his struggles, and created what is arguably his best body of work.
I think it's that it's more so that we're seeing things that we haven't seen in a while come back. And that's what makes it feel like, okay, we're switching again or something. It makes it feel fresh. I think it's because we haven't seen it in a while that it feels fresh, but it's really something that we have seen before, but we really just miss.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
That too. Because when new artists do something that reminds us of our old artists, we get really, really excited. Or like when our old artists do something that they used to do, it's just something that we miss. It's like, oh my God.
From that golden age, maybe like
from
you're
that
saying,
golden age. And when it reminds us of that golden age, because yes, we are transitioning out of it and hopefully we do transition into a new one with new artists, we get really excited. We're like, oh my God, this just ignited, this just jolted something musically that we as listeners have not felt in a long time.
Yeah. I feel like the question I kind of want to end on then is, what would it take for y'all to think that an album has changed the landscape? Like, what would that look like? What would be necessary for that to happen?
You know what, though? I'm a backtrack a little bit because I feel like there has been a switch in albums. But I don't think it's the switch we want. When I listen to albums now, and listen to hip-hop albums in particular, the switch that I hear is short, radio-friendly, very easy to, digest. It's not really too
I don't think that was
complex.
artist influence though. That was more industry changing.
Yeah, it was
influence,
industry
like streaming and stuff.
But that's
Exactly.
the only change I can think of.
But another change that I noticed to piggyback and then answering your question, especially with rap albums, I don't know why, but they are long as hell.
But see, long albums have been around. Yeah,
and
streaming.
so that helps with streaming. But I think the flip side of that, the negative side of that, is that it's very hard to digest. When I look at CLB and I see 21 songs, and you mean to tell me not one of those 21 songs I can relate to?
Or like Donda, an hour and 40 minutes?
Donda is an hour and 40 minutes. Why am I watching a movie?
Like, as a reactor, when I see stuff like that, I get so depressed.
What?
I'm like, do I really have to sit
Bro, I'm telling you.
Can I break it
I'll get so
up?
excited. I said, oh my God, Kanye's dropping. Jordan, we got to react. I said, boy, it's an hour and 40 minutes.
And
We're not doing
lie,
it.
just to speak on that for a minute, that's what's stopped us from doing something.
Because we'll look at your channel, and I'll be like, Jordan, but Bobby, who is one person, sat down and had a commentary for an album that was dang near 2 hours.
You see, and that's the thing.
I die though. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I haven't done an album reaction in probably like 2 months. I think I got like burned out from it, and I feel like it was because like I was going through Taylor's discography, and like
that's a long
all
one.
her new stuff. I'm just saying, like, no, all her new like releases are all like 30 something songs. And but even though I really like them, I got burned out.
It's
like,
just a lot.
I
gonna
just
happen.
like had to take a break.
It's a lot to sit there and take in.
And take it.
It's
And
a
then,
lot.
And then like
it's
us.
a lot.
And then like us. And this is, I don't want this to be taken the wrong way because I don't know about you, but we do watch a lot of reactors. I will say the reason why, which is so funny that you messaged, like I called Jordan immediately. I said, Jordan, guess who messaged me? I was like, this would be the universe. I will say out of the ones that we do watch, the three of us sitting here, I do notice that we can get burned out so easily because we actually have something to say. It's not just listen to it and be like, oh my God, I'm an emo boy. I cried. Next song.
Yeah, and
like you had nothing of quality, nothing of substance to say about a song where the artist just poured their heart out. And you mean to tell me that it relates you to your dead dog? I'm sorry, but
ain't that crazy how what we're saying about music kind of even crosses into YouTube and reacting and YouTube, content. It's like you want to make things, everybody's making things that are quick and easy, microwavable,
quick and
and
easy.
But really sitting here and talking, you know what I mean? And dissecting what you're listening to really isn't a thing
If you listen to Taylor Swift's the Volt version, and I look at the video that a reactor just posted and that thing was done in 30 minutes, you just told me right then and there you had nothing to say.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really hard to like, and like, I feel like, because, reactors we get a bad rep for it being easy content or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, when I'm doing this, like, I'm doing so many things at one time. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And like, dissecting on, like, because we're talking about album reactions, having to keep in my head, like, what themes are there, how this song connects to that song, like
the
what this
sequencing?
lyric means, like pulling, like, because like sometimes artists call back previous songs, previous albums. I gotta like keep all that up here.
Exactly.
And it's a lot. Like, I get burnt out doing that. It's hard.
That's genuine love for it,
And
and then so like, I am just curious because those changes are real, and you'll have 30 songs on an album because like the truth of the matter is like you only need one song to get into playlisting to become a hit, and then your album does well, and then, so it's really just a numbers game. But that change has definitely been there. But I'll say that can go away. I don't want that. I don't want that in like a new album because we were talking about like changing the landscape. I would hope that moving forward, changing the landscape would be like getting rid of the long albums again. Give me 12 to 14,
I would agree.
16 maybe.
Thank you.
Like, and I guess I was sitting here thinking about it. I feel like an album that would be game changing to me would be, because this is what I feel like is missing. So if an artist did it, I feel like it would just be like everything. I feel like storytelling is kind of gone out the window. And I feel like that's why a lot of people go towards Taylor Swift, because she still like does storytelling. Yeah. But like with hip hop, I feel like storytelling albums in the mainstream are like gone. Like they're like non-existent. Yeah. So storytelling, cohesive, like songs from an album from like front to back that like has this whole. That's why I like Earth Gang's new album, because like it's like literally every song has a purpose. I don't know if y'all have heard that, but y'all need to listen to it.
But I know
Earth
exactly
Gang
what
is
you're
like,
talking about. Yeah.
They're like my favorite artists to be like top 5 right now. I love them.
Okay.
And like I think there needs to be. I feel like there needs to be a switch in production. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of stuff is kind of sounding similar, and I don't know what that shift in production would be. But I feel like a lot of the times, game-changing albums actually come from the production side of things.
Yes. We're at a place where I feel like we've seen it all though and heard it all. That's why I agree with you. Like it's so hard to be like sonically, what is different that is gonna shock the world and be like, all right, this is the new wave, you know?
You know,
I got excited when you were saying that because I'm like, that's what it is. It's hard to like pinpoint what that is.
To answer your question about what do you think it'll take to have an album that changes, I do agree with everything that you said. And storytelling, yes, you literally took the words right out of my mouth. It's hard to not repeat things. However, I feel like what is actually missing and is a huge piece is just the genuineness for it. I feel like when there is true genuineness, like I have to emphasize that when you have a genuine love for what you do, when you are the singer, the songwriter, when you sit in that production room and you watch the producer mix your vocals and you understand the behind the scenes work that is being done to your album, that plays a major role. I think concept albums need to.
I love a concept.
Yeah.
Concept
albums.
Kind of like what you're saying with storytelling.
The storytelling, I feel like people don't give credit. I don't know if you listen to Halsey's album, If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power.
I haven't heard that.
But when you are able to have 14, 12 songs and they all fit this theme, I don't think people understand how hard that is. So I think it
takes time.
But it's not hard for someone who loves music to appreciate it. So I think the genuineness is really what's missing, and I feel like that will make a game-changing album because you will hear everything, every little detail.
I was gonna add, because I know we're probably trying to move on to something else, but I think something that we saw obviously shake the world was when Beyonce did her visual album.
Self-titled.
And we've seen things like that, after that. I think if that were to become more of a thing because of the way that everyone's consuming music, I feel like everyone's senses when they're experiencing something are on. Your eyes are open, your ears are open. You know, you want to feel something, but you also want to be entertained. You want to have fun. Like I feel like everything is alert. So I think if visual albums became a regular thing, because I mean you're doing music, artists are always doing music videos and performances. If you were to encapsulate all of that and just put your time and effort into, if you don't want to change the sound of music, at least change the way that you deliver it. You know what I mean?
You know, on that point, I think there actually was something. I don't know if it's going to be game changing, but it was legendary in and of itself. Was Kanye's listening parties. That was crazy.
That's really you see what I'm but see that engages
those sell out. You know? The fact that those sell out,
that was wild.
It's beyond. I think
but once
again,
it's Kanye, not someone new. Because we're talking about someone new to do it.
Because somebody new do that.
But see, I even see like the what do you call it? There's artists that are doing Netflix specials and movies with their concerts and things like that. Like I'm seeing that
things are a little more interactive,
becoming a thing that we have to go beyond the music now. It has to be something that totally what's the word I'm looking for? Just captures your audience entirely. It can't just be the ear anymore. It's beyond that, you know?
And that goes.
They're looking for an experience.
And that goes with eras. We have to bring eras back. As time consuming as they are, eras are what create the album's overall presence. If the album does not have an era,
the world to live in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, I feel like that's a great place to end it right there. Because I always like to end the podcast on kind of like something hopeful in the future.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
And I'm laughing because our laptop about to die too.
Oh, there we go. But y'all, thank you for coming on here. I really appreciate it. I feel like we could literally talk for hours. So
I think so too.
Hey, we got I always if you want to come back on, if we got a topic we want to talk about, we can do that. But y'all make sure you go follow their YouTube channel. I'll have that in the description and in the links. The Bascome Twins. Same thing for this channel. Subscribe, like, comment, all the good stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, y'all, like, I really appreciate you coming on here for real.
No, thank you for having us, for sure.
Yes. And until next time, y'all, we'll see you.